Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So today we're taking a look at the Chevy Volt that I purchased exactly 3 months ago. So this is a little 3-month video review of my Chevy Volt, some of the issues that I've had with it, and some of the great things that I have had with it. So as you'll see, this is a 2013 Chevy Volt in this kind of, I think this is silver ice is the actual color of it. No, it's ice, silver topaz. That is what the color of this is. And I like it personally because it hides scratches very well. And the paint correction I did on it shows up really nicely. And any of the deeper scratches that I couldn't get don't really show up that much. So overall, the exterior is in great shape for being a 2013. I do have to touch up some of this black right there to get it more of a back to black look here. And I just want to touch on this. So this is a 2013. I bought it with 68,000 miles and change. And I bought it for $7,200. That does not include the tax rebate on the vehicle here, which is up to 30%. So this vehicle came in at around $5,400 after the tax rebate. Once I get my taxes back, or once I do my tax return here, then for this year, 2024, then I'll have that extra $2,400 or so to do whatever the heck I want to do with it, which is awesome. So the total price of this vehicle was, like I said, a hair over $5,200. Now, mind you, one thing I do want to share and be totally transparent on, this was a manufacturer buyback. So this was a lemon law buyback in California back in 2014, and it's been on the road ever since 2014 with no issues whatsoever. I did a lot of research because this is the first vehicle that I've ever bought that was a lemon, and I did a lot of research on this, and I did talk to the dealership where I bought it from, and apparently there was something to do with the battery pack that needed to be replaced. And it's been on the road ever since with zero issues whatsoever. So right now here, I have actually put on, let's just take a look. We'll hop into the Volt here and put on about 3,500 miles. As we start it up, we'll see I have 71,453 miles. I have put on, 3,500 miles since I bought the vehicle 3 months ago. So you could tell I do quite a bit of driving here. And I have used 12.7 gallons of gas. So about a tank and a quarter worth of gas. So we'll shut that off, push button start. So I bought this vehicle, and actually I have to be transparent again. I financed this vehicle, even though I could have easily paid cash for it, because of this reason. So my girlfriend and I, who have been living together here for 4 years, decided to split the payment and insurance on this vehicle. So I drive this vehicle about 70% of the time. She drives it 30% of the time. So I pay the electricity as well. And half of the electricity cost is through my business. So that is a tax-deductible expense. And I drive it quite a bit. I enjoy driving it. And the reason why we bought this vehicle was, A, the price was really good. B, the even after the cost of finance and insurance, because this is so low to insure, it's cheaper than me driving my Ram truck around all the time. My Ram truck is costing me probably $500 to $600, about $500 a month just in fuel costs. So it is very expensive. I do a lot of driving. Right now I can use this more for work than anything else, or if the weather is inclement. And it keeps the mileage down on my Challenger SRT, my 300 SRT, and then my girlfriend's GLE, or I should say her AMG GLE as well. And it's doing a very good job at that. So this car has and will, when, you know, if we decide to keep it, because of the great reliability ratings here of the Volt, will pay for itself over and over. After the math all worked out for me, this is really a great vehicle. I actually just sat in the rear of this vehicle for the first time last night, and I was amazed. I was purely amazed at how much space there is in this vehicle. You have more than an ample amount of space to stretch out and, you know, get your feet underneath the seat. Space here, and you can reach into the back if you have any sort of stuff that you need to grab. So it's really a great road trip vehicle. So with further ado here, let's take this vehicle out on the road, this Volt, and see how it drives, and we'll go through some of the pros and cons that I have had with it so far. So setting out in the Chevy Volt after 3 months of ownership. So this is the thing I want to first talk about. So I've never really driven an electric car before. This is kind of my first experience with it. I had a short spurt in a Tesla where I drove it down the road a couple miles and drove back. And that was it. So essentially, one thing, even though this only has 141 horsepower, which I have a snowmobile that has that much horsepower, which is crazy to think of. But even though this has only 131 horsepower in sport mode, I do have to say the power when it comes on, especially in slower speeds, is so effortless. I mean, you can, as we're coming up to a corner here, you can just floor it, and the traction control will come on because there's so much torque. I want to say, I think there's 260-ish pound-feet of torque, which is quite amazing, and that torque is available everywhere. That torque is available high speed, low speed, doesn't matter. That torque is always around. So even though this has a 0 to 60, and I posted it on my channel, this has a 0 to 60 of 9 seconds flat. The 0 to 30 time is 3 seconds. So you get a little bit of that fun factor in 0 to 30, 0 to 40. After that, it drops off just because the horsepower really isn't there. But that's okay. Again, you know, you essentially buy this car for, you know, the economical factor of it, which is great, which is really great. So that's one thing I never get tired of, is kind of that instantaneous, when I'm looking at the pedal in sport mode specifically, that instantaneous throttle response, because it is electric. There is no waiting to shift gears. So if I were to floor it right now in this 55 mode from, let's just say 25 miles an hour, or 20 even, it's just instantaneous power. And then right about 50, it really starts to die off. But even at 60 miles an hour, you can feel that instantaneous power. So that is a pretty cool factor when it comes to any sort of electric vehicle, but this vehicle being a hybrid, but battery powered, that is, it is still pretty fun to drive. And also, I want to say this about the Volt. So GM has some of the best driving cars in the business, and this Volt is no exception. Now, while, of course, the steering is electronic, it's so direct and so straight. When you take corners in this vehicle, because the center of gravity is so low, it takes corners very well. And yes, there is understeer that is going to happen on a heavy front-wheel drive car, but because it just there's so much torque here, when you take a slower corner and you pin it, you're going to get that push through the corner, and that does tend to happen. But as a sporty-ish car, I should say, I mean, yeah, it's a very plush and comfortable ride, but when you throw it in sport mode and take a few corners, the steering is so direct and the weight is so low that you can feel confident in a corner. And I guess that's where I was trying to go with that conversation. It makes you feel very confident in corners and safe, which is great. Now I'm really curious to see how this does in the wintertime with the front wheel drive and the electronic stability control and everything like that, traction control. I'm curious to see how it does. But overall, the driving dynamics of this vehicle are very good. It's a very soft and plush ride, and you can have a little bit of fun in the lower miles per hour range. Anything 40 and below, basically, you can have a little bit of fun with this vehicle, which is weird to say being a Chevy Volt, but I have to say it is a joy to drive. Now, some of the cons I want to touch on here. When I am in low gear, and I posted this in other videos before, when I am in low gear, it tends to clunk once in a while from start and stop. I don't know exactly what that is, but it does tend to do that from time to time. Just a little click, a very, very little click, which isn't a big deal for me. When I take it in for an oil change, which I won't have to do for a while, then I will have that looked at. Also, I hate the steering wheel. The 9 and 3 is nice, or the 10 and 2 is nice, and the 9 and 3 is good too. But this vinyl wrap steering wheel, come on, guys. I get this is a base level Chevy Volt, like basic, but we gotta throw some leather wrap steering wheels into these vehicles. This is just atrocious. These seats, I like these seats. There is no lumbar. This is only forward, backward, up, down, and back and forth for the backrest here, but there is no lumbar. So these seats, honestly, I find more comfort in the back seats than I do the front seats. They're not very supportive. I mean, they're like plank boards, but for me, I'm not a very heavy person. I don't mind that, and I actually kind of like the quick adjustment of the seats. Now, there is no memory seats, but again, this is a base model, so you kind of get what you pay for in that respect. There is no rear wiper for the hatch. That can, I don't know what it's like in the wintertime. Now, again, this will be garaged all the time in the wintertime, so it won't be a huge deal, but there is no rear wiper for the hatch, and sometimes if you don't have Rain X on your vehicle, that rain won't wipe off. So that can become a little bit of a driving hazard, which isn't good. That just isn't good. Otherwise, I guess, interior materials are, really a lot of hard plastic, but again, for me, I don't care about that. This isn't my luxury cruiser. That's not what we bought it for. This is a point A to point B destination car. And I know in the nicer trims, the trim work is a little bit better than just this hard plastic here. I should also say, since it is raining out now, this car in the rain is really, really good. Not a lot of hydroplaning because of the weight, because it is front drive. I feel very confident when I am driving this in the rain, in any sort of precipitation. That's really it for cons. I guess I don't have a ton of cons. The headspace is great. The materials are whatever. But again, this is a base model Chevy Volt. What else do you expect? I paid, after the rebate, total cost of this vehicle was a hair over $5,000. So do I care? No, I really don't. Some of the pros here, like I said, the steering and the suspension is just spot on. There's no steering feel, but it is pretty direct, and there is really no numbness to it. The digital display is really nice in front of you, that they include that in the base model. There's a little bit of customizable options with that. The infotainment, the Chevy MyLink, that they include all of this in the base model is great. I have to say, I like it. I like it a lot. Not as much as the Uconnect 8.4 or the Uconnect 5 system, but let me tell you, this is a lot easier to navigate than that Mercedes-Benz Command that is in our AMG GLE. Even the old Uconnect system that I have in my Challenger, this is worlds better. This is just about right there with the Uconnect system. I like it. It's very easy to use. And really, the storage in here is great. Again, guys, I'm bursting with joy over this car because it really is that good. I'm not a GM guy whatsoever. I'm not a Chevy guy whatsoever, but this fits a niche market for people like me who need that secondary or tertiary vehicle to, keep the miles down or save some money on their other vehicles. And this vehicle fits the bill perfect. I'm blown away at it, at what it is and what it can do and its capabilities. The storage space in here, we could fit a golden retriever in the back, no problem. The only thing you can't do with this vehicle is tow. Otherwise, I'm blown away. There's so much room. You could take a road trip in this vehicle and be totally fine on space. Totally fine on space. Even if you're 6'1", 2, 3, you could sit in those rear seats and have a ton of room. I'm blown away. If I were to get this as a nicer vehicle, as maybe my secondary vehicle where I'm daily driving this all the time, yes, then I'm going to get a Premier trim or a nicer trim. I'm definitely not going to get a base because, again, the audio sucks in the base. It's really not very good. The seats aren't great. There's not a lot of customization or anything like that. But overall, though, I have to say I'm just very proud I bought this vehicle. Definitely one of the more iconic Chevrolet vehicles out there, in my opinion, in terms of providing the USA with a product that nobody else offered at the time. So with that, folks, take a look at one of these Chevy Volts. If you're in the market for a electric vehicle or a plug-in hybrid, this should be at the tip top of your list, especially with the tax credit that is going on now. When you purchase one of these vehicles, you gotta buy one of these things. So with that, guys, we'll see you in the next episode. Like and subscribe, and take care.